Hey everyone, as you can tell by the disclaimers, today's video is going to be a bit different. While attitudes towards substances have changed a lot in my lifetime, I can say the landscape has improved since I was born. It was a very different story in the 1980s where war on drugs was arguably one of the most recognized conflicts of the entire decade, inspiring numerous fictional works including the subject today, the arcade video game NARC. As one of many projects headed by Eugene Jarvis, as arcade pioneer, it definitely makes a great time capsule of the era and provided a prelude to the games that followed into the 1990s. Not just because they're first to feature the winners don't use drugs, a track screen that was on numerous other games throughout the 80s and early 90s. Definitely has that DNA that would become a part of titles like Smash TV and Mortal Kombat. Also, much like Revolution X, which I reviewed last year, it's also ball of utter insanity that I just had to share my experience with and talk about the game's impact, so let's get this started. The gameplay takes cues from Jarvis' previous work on the classic Defender, especially in terms of the map, movement, and weapons. However, instead of a spaceship shooting other spacecraft, you want to have two brightly colored NARC officers shooting pushing gangsters, Max Force and Hitman. This turns out you actually get more points and bonuses from resting them as opposed to just eliminating them. That said, both the digitized graphics and the top violence will be a precursor to the later Mortal Kombat. Not so the Avatar's variety of death animations for the enemies combined with the game's difficulty made it very lucrative for arcade owners. I had to rework the settings in May multiple times to do this review, but I don't mind playing experimenting that way. Much like people doing debug and maintenance work on the game did in 1988, so let's open it up. The first stage is going after the Das Loaf gang, who are one enemy type with connections to the game's main villain, Mr. Big. Going through the junkyard, you find a literal pipeline and subway terminal to the next stage, and had a red safe key for you to exit the stage. Stage 2 introduces Dr. Spike Rush, a hypo-man chemist/pusher. Have to destroy his lab to get the blue safe key, and even though you only get a few rockets per credit, there's something satisfying about blowing stuff up that speaks to parts of me. Stage 3 is a bridge, introduces the next enemy type, a PCP addict named Joe Rockhead, aka Dumpster Man. Basically, it's like Oscar the Grouch was matched up with the Abomination, and he can't really be rushed due to his size and strength. It was a different time, everyone. Point. Stage 4 introduces Kinky Pinky, a killer clown in the red light district, and you have to rescue innocents while also getting the silver save key. Also, as Daniel DJ Slip pointed on his video, which was very useful helping research this, it was based on the infamous John Wayne Gacy. I am not making that up. Stage 5 sees you face off with Cultivator Sergeant Sky High, whose business is called Buds R Us. He's dressed like a wrestler with a military gimmick, and you had to collect his plans and the green safe key while contending with his arms, and some of his plans to explode. Huh. These days, it's more common that people are just eating goldfish crackers and watching Toonami. 6 is the lead up to Mr. Big's International HQ, introduces the HQ posse, with instructions to bust them or blast them. It's clear that Mr. Big's endgame's list making a profit or funding other endeavors, though both these are also true, by getting everyone in the world hooked on his product for the evils. Basically, it's like Joe Pesci character Moonwalker, which also came out in 1988. Entering the HQ, the first encounter with Mr. Big is stage 7. He's laughing and zipping around like a future Tony Montana and Yosemite Sam, in a wheelchair that's jet boosted and has guns on it. He's tricky to hit, so it's good to save and or stack rockets for this stage. You'll basically have to shoot him out of his chair 3 times to get the gold safe key to his office. Each time you do, shoot him out of his chair. He crawls around kind of like the Big Lebowski down to Walter, accused him of being a gold pricker. Stage 8 is the final boss. Mr. Big has a mechanized head. Shoot off his sunglasses, he has laser beam eyes. Shoot him in the mouth after he shouts, "You die, cop!" He shoots tongues at you. You blow all the flesh off him, a giant skull comes out. Plus, the base has a force field that knocks you back if you get too close. Can definitely see where games like Smash TV and Mortal Kombat got the ideas from. Your reward is his supply 24 karat gold from the gold safe key, and typing a high score to some really catchy end music. The game was naturally a big hit in arcades, and had a variety of home ports on the Nintendo Entertainment System close to every PC at the time. They're not quite over the top due to limitations Nintendo stands at the time, they also did fairly well. I don't really remember the 2005 remake beyond being a budget Grand Theft Auto clone, but they were able to get a port on Midway 2 for PlayStation 2, GameCube, and the original Xbox. Many of the game designers also went on to help make games I previously mentioned, such as Smash TV, Mortal Kombat, and previously Revolution X. One of the other titles I played and enjoyed, such as T2 the arcade game, NBA Jam, and the cruising games, name a few. That's NARC. I can honestly say it's joined list my favorite arcade games from the Midway Williams catalog. As a PSA, more of the crazy ones that came out of the 80s and 90s, that they took every single action movie and cartoon supervillain and rolled them all in one game for the subject. It's about as serious a take on the subject matter as the Animax going full Studio Trigger to stop people from breeding like rabbits. However, it's a pure action arcade game. I played this game numerous times to write the script, and every time I played it, I enjoyed it more. I forgot the same crazy energy that would become a fixture later at the work as ACME for the 90s. Brightly colored narc officers and mechanical heads of crime kingpins are in the same wheelhouse as ninjas that breathe fire and shoot ice. I'm a mechanical TV host from RoboCop and the Running Man. It's just such a delightfully mad time capsule of Reagan era that I can't help but enjoy it. I will definitely be willing to play this game again. If you're into a tough, insane, and entertaining arcade shoot 'em up, this game is for you. That'll be all for now. Take care, everyone.